All right, let me get this thing rolling here. I know we've got about 30 minutes, and I'll do my best to share some stuff. Some of you I recognize are experienced mentors, so that's great. You're probably not going to learn very much. In fact, you could teach this better than me or talk this better than me, but some of you I think are new to me, so welcome. My name's John Rasmussen. I'm one of the mentors for the Bionic Tigers, Team 10464. I'm in my 6th year with it, but for the first 4 or 5 years, I was the lead mentor. This year, we've got a new lead mentor, Rick McKenzie, who's been working with me the last couple of years. Kind of like second in command now, as I'm also lead mentoring an FLL team, and trying to lead both and have a full-time job is a little little tough. So, but let me see if I can get the sharing thing going here and share my presentation. All right, I'm assuming everybody can see that. Is that good? Can people see?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, great.
And if people want to use the chat for asking questions, you can.
Cool. All right, so with things that I'm going to talk about through today, some of you, if you were in this presentation last year, awesome. You're going to see some of the similar stuff, but I think now we're broader base. Last year was just the Cincinnati area. So getting started as a mentor, we'll talk a little bit about what is the role of a mentor, where can I find resources, what a typical team structure. Now, every team is slightly different, so this is just kind of like how we've been doing it here in Loveland, and most of the people that many of the teams that I know kind of structure similarly when they can. So we'll talk a little bit about that. What is a typical, and unfortunately this is not a typical year, but what would a typical season look like, and then a little bit about the money, because without money, we have a tough time going to. So getting started as a mentor, particularly for those of you who've been experienced, you've all done this kind of thing, but for those of you getting started, so, you look at it, you've registered your team has anywhere from 1 to 15 members, you've ordered your field elements, you've got your field tiles, you're getting all that together, you've ordered a building kit, or you've got materials from previous years that you're going to go ahead and start working with, beginning your brainstorming process, beginning your, building some of that, beginning, maybe some teams already have your drivetrain kind of saved from previous years or planned out or things like that. You guys have established your typical meeting agendas, what day, what time. Now that's going to be a little difficult, I think, this year with the COVID stuff. Different teams, as we were just talking, have some different stuff, rules that they have to follow within their community and things. So next one is you've established your appropriate COVID-19 protocols. You've set up expectations with your team on gracious professionalism. You've read the game manual 1, and soon we'll have game manual 2 here. You understand all the awards. Seems like you're ready to do this, but now this presentation kind of talks a little bit about what exactly is that. How do I really get started? How do I improve the team? How do the students, how do we work with each other? So that's kind of what I'm gonna more talk about, that last bullet point here today. So if you haven't been out to the FTC First Inspire site and looked through some of the resources, they have a really great mentor manual. Now, for me personally, I look at it and say, there's no way I can do absolutely everything that's in that manual, but there's a lot of great tips and tricks. And when you run into some trouble, reference that as a written reference of some of how FIRST looks at things. So the resource or the PDF is in here, but I pulled out a couple of things that speak to me. So first thing is, a mentor, you don't have to have special skills other than patience, dedication, and a willingness to learn alongside the team. So, some of the most successful mentors are not engineers. People will often think, oh my goodness, I have to be an engineer, otherwise I can't do this. I'm, I have some other profession, or I'm something else that's not technical, maybe even. I know Aves Ablaze, for example, I don't know if she's still a mentor this year, but Wendy was a mentor there, and she's like, hey, I don't understand any of this stuff, but as long as they can explain it to me, it can go on the robot. And so that was her special skill, with the patience and the dedication and the willingness to learn. A mentor is not always just the person who's in every single meeting. You can have a mentor who comes in just for their area of expertise, called upon, or comes in maybe even for only one meeting to kind of give a presentation on branding. We've done that with our business team, where we've brought in brand managers from Procter & Gamble who've talked to the kids about how do you set up yourself, how do you brand yourself, how do you present and look at your visuals as well as your presentation styles and things like that. So mentors don't have to be there every meeting. You can bring in one-off. It falls also into the Connect Award. The mentor serves as a resource, kind of there. And I like this fourth one, which is, you're driving the process. You help with the process or setting it up. Now, as your team gets more experienced and advanced, they kind of help drive that themselves. But the important thing is without providing the solution yourself. So I'm fond of saying that I don't think ever in my 6 years of working with FTC has anybody designed a robot, any of the kids designed a robot that I would have designed. And in the last 3 or 4 years, they definitely designed a better one than I would have designed. So they're doing, they figured it out, and they're leapfrogging over what I'm capable of. So I just kind of lean back and watch and get amazed at what they can pull off. But fundamentally, a mentor is that coach, teacher, motivator, and facilitator, because you don't always have everybody getting along throughout the season. So there's a lot on here. This is also in the manual. A mentor's role includes, and I kind of highlighted some things in blue to kind of help you scan through, but I'll just hit on the green ones that I view as kind of important. Inspiring students. So when you think about it, these kids are joining robotics team because, generally speaking, they've got a real interest in science or technology. They've got an interest in learning about what engineering may or may not be. Is it right for them? Some may find that they actually like the presentation part and that blending of business, and maybe even some move all the way over to business and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I've had a number of kids go through the program that end up in business school at the end of all this. And so that's marketers and finance folks that have our students have come through the program. But generally speaking, they have an interest in science, they have an interest in technology, and so inspiring that is what the robotics really gives them that opportunity. It kind of falls in line of a quote, I believe it was Dean Kamen, who said, it looks like a bunch of kids building a robot, but what it is a robot building a bunch of kids, and you as mentors are helping with that inspiration. Allowing the students to do as much of the work as possible. There are times, particularly with younger students, where it may not be the safest thing to be running that saw or running this whatever it happens to be, a bandsaw or something like that, if they're not properly trained. So from a safety aspect, sometimes the mentor has to come in and do a few things. But generally speaking, once they're old enough and they've been trained on things, I don't think, and Pete, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but within the Loveland community, I don't think we do anything. The kids do it all from soup to nuts.
That's correct. That's correct. They do everything on their own, but the only thing we do is if there's changing blades and stuff like that, we get involved. Otherwise, it's up to them.
Yep. So we make sure they're trained and we make sure that they're doing things safely, but that's the requirement from our side. And so that's a great thing. But I understand that some of the teams are younger, first year teams, maybe some 7th graders or 8th graders, where maybe don't have quite the experience level. And for us, generally you've got sophomores, juniors, seniors that have been through it before, and so they're using it again. Creating, encouraging, and facilitating open, honest communication within the team. A lot of times this is truly a valuable thing as I talk to people in industry. is too seldom. You get people that are on, they go to interviews and they say, yeah, I was on a team, 3 weeks, we did this physics assignment. This is an opportunity for kids to be on a team for 12 months or multiple years, the same team, which is kind of akin to the team dynamics you get in business. And you really start when you have that open, honest communication, and you're able to facilitate that and have the kids doing that is a true way that you can really help elevate those kids and what they learn from here. So it's more than just robots. It's also some of these other aspects that you get. Kind of along with that is trust and respect for every member and their ideas. This to me is a very important item. I think I kind of hit on that with the open, honest communication, but it kind of falls in line there. You guys as mentors, COVID, boy, this is a unique world, isn't it? And so understanding what your team rule, what your community rules are, your school rules are, whatever situation you have, understanding, there was some comment earlier about, the football team can practice, can we practice, those kinds of things going on, and getting to the heart of that. The mentors should be the ones getting and understanding and setting the protocols and the processes there, communicating with the parents and the kids and everything, such that everybody feels that we're taking this, doing this as safe as possible, and every team's going to have some slightly different variations to that. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all component there. As things get going, we're going to hear more about this, but registering for competitions. In our world, we generally let the mentors do that, and not the kids. So that way we, because there's money exchanging hands, and that's the other piece that we'll do is when things get paid for, when money starts exchanging hands, the mentors will be involved in that one, and not just rely on the kids doing that. So when you have to buy things like that, the kids on our team, the kids identify everything they want to buy. They go through a design review process. Awesome. But the parent or the mentors are the ones who actually do the physical purchasing of what goes on. You may have a little different thing, but that's kind of a dividing line that's worked out well for my team. And then the last one, I'm going to hit on it again: gracious professionalism and role modeling that principle within the team. Okay. Hopefully that gave you a chance to take a look at some of the other things. There's a lot more within the manuals. So where do you find resources? So I mentioned this already. There's not only just the mentor manual, but there's also a lot of other resources that are out there. There's no way I could have read all of them, but periodically ask a question and I'll go out and find something and kind of read it, or one of my other mentors will have found something, or we work very closely because we're in the same school system as Team 50/40 nuts and bolts, and so we'll get kind of different things between both teams here, and find things, and there's documents up there that are very helpful. That's also where you'll find the game manuals. Part 1, hopefully you've all read. Part 2 comes out a little bit later today, and that's what all the excitement is about here. Local to Ohio, if you are an experienced mentor, awesome. If you're not, there are a lot of them. We've got a lot of really, really great mentors throughout the state, from just about every corner. So if you have any questions or anything like that, all of us are, I'll speak for all of us and say we're all ready and willing to help you through any concerns, questions, thoughts, bounce ideas off of, anything you want. Just reach out to any of us. And then we also have a fantastic organization based at Right Pat with Sarah. Get to know them. Get connected into that one. The more you're connected into the community at large for the mentors around the state, the better off you are as far as like how your team learns and grows. So typical team structure. So this is how we've been doing it, and I've seen it in a number of different ways, variations of this anyway. But generally, kids are either in a build team, a programming team, or a business team, and then there's a cross connection between all of them. So kind of covering it how we structure it anyway. Build team, those are the ones who, for lack of a better term, they're the mechanical engineers. They're the ones that are doing the CAD work, designing the actual mechanisms, getting those mechanisms in the right ratios, doing like I said, the CAD work, the design reviews, buying the parts and the bolts and attaching the motors, making sure everything's all solid and all that it actually can physically run and do the tasks that's being asked of it as efficiently and effectively as possible. Programming team brings it to life. It's kind of like the Frankenstein, right? So you've got the build team kind of creates the monster, and the programming team brings it to life, and makes it such that the drivers can actually drive it, and the communication going back and forth. So build and programming have to communicate a lot. What is the intent? Which direction does this motor run? What's the gear ratios? All those kinds of things flow into into the programming team, and the programming team then has to digest that, turn it into code that then makes the robot do what it needs to do. They also have to listen to the build or the drive team. The one driver may like, hey, this button I want it to do this, or this joystick I want it to be a little more sensitive or a little less sensitive, or whatever happens to be, and so they can tailor that. They are also, and at least on our team, they're do a lot of the autonomous programming or autonomous work, like figuring out where does the robot need to go, and they more or less, because it is all programming, more or less that is one of their jobs, is to make sure that auto runs. Now they'll work with the build team on that too, but fundamentally that's a core competency of the programming team. And then you get into the business team, and the business team kind of is a lot of it is the outside world. So the branding that I talked about earlier that we'll do, the writing of things, the communication, the Twitter accounts, the Instagram, or whatever social media that you have on there. We actually brought marketer in who is a older sister of one of our team members who does social media marketing as a job, and so she came in and talked to the kids about social media and how do you use it effectively and things like that. So that was really working with the business team. Business team is also, they're understanding the money situations, they're understanding all that communication pieces, the boards in our world. In the old world, maybe, the how does the pit look, in establishing those boards. The business team is the primary driver behind it. The judges' presentations, the business team is putting, they're mainly accountable. Now, let's be clear, it is the leads across the whole team, and everybody's involved in the judging and that kind of stuff. But if you were to pick one group or one bucket that falls into, business team tends to be more of that bucket, with strong connections with the programming and build team. So that's kind of how we've structured it. Again, I'm kind of going through that a little quick, but hopefully some of that makes sense. And again, everybody's going to have a slight variation on it based upon your student strengths, and where you maybe mentor strengths as well. And the kids that have signed up, do you have 15 kids or do you have 6? So it could also just modify things a little bit there. So last year, this was what a typical season schedule would look like. This year, it's a COVID typical season schedule. So today's kickoff, yay. But registration began in May, so hopefully you've all gotten registered there. Preseason has been over the summer, typically. That's the outreach season. This year's been a little different, and kids have had to adjust and make do, and I know many have, and that's fantastic. So, but today's kickoff, we get the game strategy and building. If you're anything like our teams, our kids are excited for this afternoon to start figuring out what they're going to do, and they're just chomping at the bit. So as soon as 12 rolls around, they're going to want to grab a little bit of lunch and spend the whole rest of the day working, and they won't even realize the time went by. They'd be so excited and so engaged. As Pete and I have been talking a little bit here, Loveland typically does, and the Cincinnati area will typically do a scrimmage every year. I think we've done maybe 5 in a row. This year's obviously structuring up to be a little bit different, so we're looking at seeing whether we can do a virtual scrimmage. No details on it yet, but as soon as any details come with that, we'll work with Sarah and the team there and get that information out as far as whether we can do it and what it might look like. So we'll still try to do
John,
something.
I think the intent is we would like to do several scrimmages. I think that would be a
awesome.
good thing.
Awesome. That would be great. I'm only aware of one, but awesome. Qualifiers, I've gotten from Sarah that January through March is the timings for the qualifiers this year. And then the Ohio State Championship, she tells me, is going to be in late March, early April. And First has already come out and said that the World Championships for Detroit are going to be at the beginning of August. I think Houston is supposed to be mid to late July. So I put a little black mark in here that says, yeah, between April and August, if you qualify for Worlds, you got some extra build and practice season over the summer to go work with that. Do you know, Jeff, about how many you guys are looking at for scrimmages and what kind of timings you're looking at?
No, we don't know yet. What we're trying to figure out is since everything's going to be virtual, we want to really use them as practices so teams are comfortable with it, and also all of our judges are. So it's just going to give everybody a good example. So
yeah,
the more we can do, the better.
And that's what we've done in the past too, is help with not only the kids, but the referees get a handle on the game and what things might crop up and get some experience. Okay, I know we've only got a few minutes left. So funding, if you haven't already gotten into funding, funding's a fun one, especially this year. Yeah, you can read that. It depends upon your team and how much money it takes to get it, but you've got, entry fees, t-shirts, robot parts, game elements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All have to figure out how to be paid for there. My recommendation is figure out how to get yourself a tax-free account. Whether you're tied to a school, schools all have them. You set up your own 501c3, you tie into a boosters organization, do something to get yourself a tax-free account. Whoops. The businesses, this allows them to take it as a donation and it takes it off of their taxes. Look within your community, and we know that this is going to probably be a little bit tougher this year, but look within your community to see whether you can find any financial sponsorships. There are some local businesses that will also do services or materials in lieu of money, which is kind of okay. We found the Loveland teams have found a place that will go ahead and carve up some aluminum or even carbon fiber for us at free, but they don't give us money, but they give us free materials. So that's nice. And allows the kids to work a lot more with businesses as well in that case. Some businesses match company donation or employee donation. So if you've got to have your parents look at that, because it might be your parents as they do money for fees for running the team, they may get matching stuff. General Electric does that here in Cincinnati. I'm not sure what other companies do that around, but have your parents look into that, because that could be a free untapped source. If you are in the Cincinnati area, again, we did this last year. I worked for Procter & Gamble. P&G will be donating to Cincinnati area robotics teams. There's a complicated reason why it's only Cincinnati, but it's the person whose budget it is that's getting it out of. All of his employees are based in Cincinnati, and didn't want to go over to somebody else's area within the state. But if you are in Cincinnati area and you haven't gotten an application form, please contact me or Sarah, and we will get you an application form. It's due by the end of September. Fundraising ideas. You've got local restaurants do things like they'll have stuff. We found Get Creative. Loveland has done breakfast with the bots in the past. Now this past year we couldn't do it due to COVID, but we'll do get our robotics all levels out there and make pancakes and have people come in. We do stuff with the local veterans organization as well, to kind of say thank you to the veterans at the same time of making it a fundraiser for us, for dinner type of thing. So look at what's possible within your community. Get creative with fundraising. Business team folks are really good at doing that, and good luck with the fundraising. It's interesting. So any questions? I don't know whether I've been on this. I haven't seen whether anybody's given me any questions on the chat, but again, I'll reiterate, there's a lot of experienced mentors and a lot of experienced teams, because sometimes we've had people say, hey, how do you program this to the mentor group? And we all look at each other and go, we don't have any idea, our kids do. But getting the mentors connected, getting the teams connected, there's a lot of experience here in Ohio that can help you out, and all willing to help you out. You can also email me at, here's my email address here, jdrasmussen@gmail.com. That's kind of what I had. I think I got through with about 5 minutes to spare here for any questions or other thoughts. Were there any questions that came through, Jeff?
No questions in the chat yet.
Okay. I did a fantastic job. Thank you.
You did do a great job. Thank you.
So just a couple of things. This will be recorded and it will be available on the Right Pat website. And then one of the other things we're looking at, Andy and I are looking at doing, is maybe having just like state calls every couple weeks to, get teams encouraged to communicate with each other. So that's one of the things we're really trying to do this year, is since COVID, we won't be able to go to tournaments, because a lot of times the tournaments is where you interact with other teams. We want to try to do that virtually. We want to try to do that more often. So that's one of the goals. So please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, hopefully your kids are getting a lot of the other experiences with I think you guys had the pre-recorded videos that were up earlier this morning, and then you've got the live ones that are going on here, and then of course the reveal. I think there's also the team roundtable, right? Where the teams will be able to talk to each other.
If it is not too late, I have a question. My name is Satine Kara, and I'm mentoring one of the mentors from the Sycamore High School. This is almost like the first year I will be doing this more regularly. So my question is there a way to get connected with other mentors from now and then if we have questions? Almost like a kind of forum. It's not a formal meeting every month, but maybe a kind of forum that we post questions, like a mentoring questions, and then maybe if someone else is interested in helping, maybe they can share their experiences.
Do you want to take this one, Jeff? Since I think you guys are already thinking about stuff like this already. Yeah. Is that right?
Could you repeat the question? I was having a little trouble hearing that.
I think, let me try to see if I repeat it, and then Satine, tell me if you got it. Is like, you've got the formal, as you were talking about, Jeff, like, hey, let's get together once a month. But I think she's acting as they are asking about the informal, like, oh, shoot, something came up this week. Who do I go talk to, or how can I have more of an informal, like almost like a group to go talk to, but not structured on time. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a couple things. One is, could you just mute? Sorry, I'm having sound issues. A couple things. One is what we're trying to do is develop a network of coaches that can work and help each other. The other thing is you can always reach out to me or Andy Yantes. We're the senior mentors for Ohio. So that's kind of our job, is to just be a general resource. And, you can reach out to us and we can maybe redirect and connect you. That's kind of what we do. So let me post my email in the chat.
Then Andrea and Carrie are both mentioning subreddit and Discord, which are also other channels.
Okay. Yeah, so Discord and what was the other one? Subreddit are other resources as well. So, and again, I think this year more than any, what we really want to try to do is get coaches to interact with each other and build that community of first volunteers and teams and coaches. So, reach out to each other, because a lot of times, when you're working through the problem, someone else may be having that exact same problem. So our goal is to try to get those coaches and mentors working together this year. Okay, we need to get.
Awesome. And then Satine, if you said Sycamore, right? So obviously Loveland's sitting right next door to you. So you're always welcome to contact myself or Pete Kavoris or Carol Case, who's on the call here.
Oh, thank you very much. I will.
All right. So Jeff, are you transitioning now, or how's this?
Yeah, I think we're at time. We'll be another 15 minutes. We're going to be starting our next session, which is just a conversation with coaches. So Sarah's going to come in, and I think she's going to talk about, okay, this year, yeah, we know it's COVID, we know it's crazy, what we're going to do to kind of work through that. So that's, I think, the next talk in room number 4. So coaches, you may want to consider staying, because I think she's going to try to give you some information about that, and also some links of where you can actually find information going forward. Because again, we know this is this is a different year. This is like nothing we've seen before, but I think it'll be good. I think we're going to get through it. First teams are very flexible, and again, I think it's a great learning opportunity for the kids, right? So I think one way or another, may not be fun, but they're going to learn a lot. So okay, so I think that's the end of this session, and we'll see you back here in 15 minutes. All right, thank you.